they have what's called an anadromous life cycle. So they reproduce in fresh water, but then they spend the rest of their life in salt water. So this represents the saltwater phase of their life. You grow them in fresh water till they're about this big. They're called a smolt, at which time they're transferred into a sea cage. And then they spend the next 18 to 24 months in a sea cage, at the end of which they're about 10 pounds or 3 to 4 kilograms. At that time they're harvested and sent to market. These cages are ideally suited for the environmental conditions here in Newfoundland. The netting is pretty self-explanatory. Everything from here is below the water, and this is above the water. So the netting acts as both a barrier for predators to get into the cage, and also stops your salmon from getting out. You'll also notice that there's netting on top, and that prevents birds of prey from diving in, and as well as other marine mammals from getting into your cage and eating the fish. And over a 2-year period, if you're not protecting your animals in this way, you can actually lose a fairly substantial number of fish. These cages can be range in size from about 25 meters in diameter up to 100 meters in diameter. Our industry in Newfoundland is kind of starting to steer towards the larger cages in the 100-meter diameter size. And what they've generally been doing is putting in about 100,000 smolts, salmon smolts, and they stay in there for 24 months, at which time they're harvested.
Where do they go? Like, where do you put these cages in around?
They're generally, for salmon aquaculture, it's pretty well exclusively centered around the south coast, the Bay de Spear region of Newfoundland. That area is very popular because it doesn't have any pack ice, so it doesn't have any Arctic ice coming down, and it's quite sheltered because it's located in fjords, large, deep fjords. So it's really an ideal environmental condition down there for them. Yep.
If small salmon grow up, so we need to separate them to the large category.
Oh, okay. So when you grade them, is that what you mean?
Yeah, grade them.
Yeah. So what happens generally is that there's kind of two trains of thought. Some industry people don't grade, so you may have a variation in size. And when you harvest your fish, you may have some that are 8 pounds, some that are 10, some that are 12. So what these industries have done is they've established markets for those size fish. So they have some countries or some restaurants or some supermarkets that want 8-pound fish, some that want 10 pound, some that want 12. On the other side of the coin, we have some of the industry people that like to grade their fish. So they actually, after about 1 year in the cage, they go in and they separate the two sizes of fish. So they probably have an average 9-pound fish and an average 11-pound fish, and then they split them into 2 more cages. But that practice is kind of being steered away from now because it requires a lot of labor and it's extra expense, and that's less money than you can make on your final product.
Anybody else have a question? I'm going to rush some of you away, I know, because they're going to have another appointment at 1.
Oh, okay.
So we'll just thank Chris for his